And it does. This is Free Speech Fridays, brought to you by the Free Speech Union, the champions of free speech in New Zealand. Visit them at fsu.nz. Joining us this morning, two previous participants. Yvonne Van Dongen, writer and journalist extraordinaire. Yvonne, how are you?
I'm good, Sean.
Lovely to have you with us. And Maurice Williamson, Auckland councillor, though not a regional councillor. Maurice, you're not an endangered species.
No, the guillotine has been spared.
All right. I've been amazed, actually, Maurice, that Michael Laws, has been calling for the end of regional councils and explaining it. It's like a turkey voting for an early Thanksgiving, isn't he?
But he was right, so that's the only thing that's...
And he was. He broke the story. It was bloody good work. Look, let's see we're there. Let's just start with that. I've got to say, Yvonne, I don't spend a lot of time laying awake at night worrying about what regional councils are doing. In fact, in the normal course of my life, a regional council has absolutely nothing to do with me. So I'm not really interested in whether or not they're here or gone.
Yeah, that's why they probably could have been more radical, because it doesn't really matter. They've kind of got a halfway house. I was sort of thrilled when I heard they were going to be scrapped, because I thought, oh, this got a layer of bureaucracy gone. Maybe people's rates will go down. But then after listening to, it seems like they're going to have this halfway house of a new council of mayors, and it will still continue. And they won't get rid of the staff, which he seems to think they're the blockers. They're the
the thing is, if we get rid of all the regulations and the red tape and the rules, why do we need the bureaucrats, Maurice?
Yeah.
I think you have to go back to a principal question of what size country are we? And we're smaller than Sydney. We're smaller than Melbourne in terms of our total population.
Yeah.
And we used to have, I don't know, I think before Michael Bassett did the big 89 stuff, we had several hundred local authorities.
We had Michael on yesterday, 850 boroughs and...
850, there we go.
It was bloody amazing.
I was going to go that high, but I thought that sounds ridiculous.
Yeah.
What I loved was that in Auckland we had the Onehunga Borough Council and the One Tree Borough Council, and the best quote in 89 that I've still kept in my books was the Mayor of Newmarket. And he said if Newmarket is forced to join with Auckland City Council, it will be the end of Newmarket. Now, you
actually,
come into
I'll tell you what,
City
that's
now,
one of the examples that Michael
City
Bassett
now
brought up.
we're the most vibrant shopping where everybody's, but you can't get car parks where the place is just humming. It ain't Auckland City Centre, it's Newmarket.
And no one lives there. That was the thing that, and Bassett brought up Newmarket yesterday. He said, Michael said, no one lived there. You know?
Yeah, now the other thing you've got to be very careful about, because it does need to be well managed, is when the government of the day, and I was a minister who was part of it, we did the Auckland amalgamation and we took 7 councils, North Shore Council and Waitakere and so on, and we turned them into one. And part of the rhetoric, and I got up in the House and spoke about it, is there would be an enormous sort of cost savings and rationalisation and sort of benefits to the whole operation. Well, we were going to get rid of about 25% of the staff because we wouldn't need 5 accounting departments or 7 accounting departments, and we wouldn't.
And
need
how's that gone, Maurice?
Well, here's the numbers. At the time of the amalgamation, the total 7 councils added together had a staff of 10,000 exactly. It came to 10,121, I think it was, total. By 2022, which is the last numbers I've got, 12,500. So instead of a 25% decrease in staff, the amalgamation was going to give us, we got a 25% increase in staff numbers.
And for the average ratepayer in the street like me and Yvonne, Maurice, that's what grinds our gears.
Correct. Correct. It's just cost, more cost and more cost for what, for why. Yeah. Now, the whole idea of what I think the government's got to do is try to get us back to the core role and functions only and really strip out a whole lot of the stuff and go back to you're there for footpaths, you're there for rubbish collections, you're there for local roads, you're there for water and wastewater and so on. And all the other stuff that you might think is lovely, got to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yvonne, would you...
Yeah, I agree with that.
So you wouldn't miss Yvonne a regional council at all? It would have no impact on your life in a day-to-day
Well,
sense?
I don't think we have one in Auckland. I don't think we've got one.
We don't have a regional council.
You know,
no.
Oh, so you guys are all right.
We don't have one.
All right. Well, you're in the tender hands of Maurice, aren't you, Yvonne?
Yes, I am, and I'm sure he's doing a great job.
Can I give you another quick? Can I give you another quick example of where the voters are going? You had the local government, New Zealand's president, Sam Broughton. Now that guy wears a Tiki greenstone around his neck every time he's on TV.
He was woke. He was woke on speed.
But he's not. But he's not Maori. I'm happy with a Maori wearing greenstone. That's part of their culture. Good on them. He's not, but he had it every time. Yeah. The woke stuff they published, instead of an organisation that should be talking about how to do procurement properly, how to get your costs down, how to handle full depreciation, things that matter to an organisation. They were out there talking of all the cultural significance and so on. Well, guess what happened to him at the last election? Yeah. He got thrashed in Selwyn. He was the mayor of Selwyn, and he got about a quarter of the vote that the lady that beat him. And the voters have just had a guts full of a council being there for things other than the absolute core role and functions.
Yeah.
He should have gone to Wellington. He would have got in.
Oh, yeah. God. Labour have got rid of Greg O'Connor. He was he's a good bloke, Greg. Mind you, they didn't, and you'll be pleased with this, Yvonne, they didn't select Chanel Lal. Aisha Verrill bet him out. But look, talking of Aisha Verrill, and this got very little coverage because the media has taken a stance on the issue of puberty blockers, which isn't, it was at variance with the facts. Here, I want to read this to you, Yvonne, if you haven't heard it, a statement from Aisha Verrill, who we asked for an interview this week. Thanks for your message. We've received a lot of correspondence on this issue. I know rainbow families and rangatahi will be distressed by the government's recent announcement. My view is decisions about treatment should be made by doctors, young people and their parents. Their care shouldn't be used as a political football or to distract from the government's economic failures. Aisha Verrill. And Yvonne, that feeds into a narrative that has been created in the last week and a half by mainstream media, that an issue has been politicised, when it's in fact quite the opposite. These decisions have been made because of a lack of medical evidence and on the advice of international medical reports that say puberty blockers for gender dysphoria are not proved to be efficacious and may indeed damage young people.
That's right. There's a growing body of clinical literature, and that documents all the serious risks, including the impacts on bone density, brain development, sexual function, and long-term fertility. And you know how we're still keeping puberty blockers? We're allowing children with precocious puberty to remain on puberty blockers. Well, there's new evidence come out, some really emerging studies, that in fact those drugs reduce the IQ of those girls by about 7 to 8 points. God. And I wouldn't be surprised if in the future we stopped using them for precocious puberty as well. It's so new. I mean, these drugs have only been around since the 90s, and we don't really know what we're doing.
Yeah, well, there's been a massive, and of course all the lefties are now screeching imported culture wars. But it is an issue, and their reaction suggests it is an issue. Maurice, it seems to me transgender politics is part of an ideology in this country and indeed around the world.
Oh, look, without doubt. And I'm happy to say I've been reasonably liberal on so many issues. I supported Fran Wild's homosexual law reform. I supported the prostitution deregulation stuff. I even supported gay marriage. But when you get to this stuff, I am totally in favour of what the government's done. There is real medical evidence that these things cause serious damage and harm in the long term. And to do that to a child who's still struggling to work out what their identity may be, which in a couple of years' time might come clear to them, and they've done such damage to their bodies, it's sometimes irreversible.
Maurice,
I want to give you a quick line.
But what you're saying runs completely contrary to what the mainstream media and a lineup of self-interested experts have been saying. How can you have an independent view on this?
They say they're experts, and if you drill down, they're often not even associated with the treatments or whatsoever. I want to give you a lovely quote from an American comedian called Bill Maher. I was living in the States, and he was on about it. And he's also a political commentator, so he's pretty cool. And he just said, you cannot go to a cocktail party in LA now where at least 3 or 4 of the couples are talking about their kids transitioning. And in fact, you feel left out of the party if you're not if you've not got one of your three kids, or sometimes two of your three kids. I think Sigourney Weaver had two of her three. He was saying, and he said, so is that something that's a medical issue with these kids? Because if you go to Great Falls, Montana, to a party, they don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
and I think language is really...
it would be the same numbers if it was something across the world, or if it's a social construct and it's cool to be, and my kid is transitioning. Well, I don't mind they want to play around and dress up or do anything that's not going to damage them long term. I don't care. But the moment you start using medications and so on, which could wreck their entire lives, then the government's got to come in hard on that, put incredible controls on, and only ease those controls when there's really good evidence that they're not damaging.
Yeah.
And language is important. So I just wanted to say that transitioning.
Yeah.
Transitioning is a word that people use, but it's not really transitioning because you cannot change from one sex to another. It's extreme body modification, and that's what I'm going to use.
I call it genital mutilation,
body
Yvonne.
Modification. Yeah,
genital and surgical mutilation. It is like something they would happen, in Africa where they put brass hoops around women's necks or bind their feet in China. It is abuse of kids and people.
It is. It is. It is. And that's why we have said that we will wait until the results of the trial in the UK, right? But there's a huge outcry in the UK now because people are saying you cannot do a live experiment on 10.
National Women's Hospital, we all know how that works, Yvonne.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I don't know if they'll even do the trial. But so I think that
the US have done
the
US have put out a big study recently too, I think, and there was really good evidence in that there was an enormous amount of damage and so on. So we've got to stop letting people wanting to do the social experimenting from causing any damage long term.
But guys, how do we do this? How do we do this as a society when all our mainstream news media totally misrepresent this issue?
I know. I ask myself that a lot. I've got media derangement syndrome. They misrepresent so many issues. It's driving me mad. And there are still people who believe in them. There are.
I'd actually put it another way too. Let me put it another way. They also don't cover things that do desperately need coverage. Erica Stanford had a phenomenal announcement recently about what are various programs they'd put in place to increase their performance within maths for the kids. And there was in-person, there was hybrid, and there was online only. And every one of them had really lifted the performance of those kids. That is a lead story. That is a lead story.
No, it's not, because, and I was just saying this morning, guys, we're a year out from the election. The media took a year getting used to the idea that their favourites hadn't won the election. They've spent a year realigning with the new thing. And I think from next year, you are going to see the mainstream media launch a concerted campaign to ensure a change to a left-wing government. I think they are back on the hunt for anyone who isn't woke.
But let me do a test with you. Let me do the test. You bring anybody you like into a room and say, is it more important whether there was a bit of broccoli within the potato and the pumpkin in the school lunch, or is it more important that we elevate their performance within the maths 2 years within a 12-week period? Now, I know what everyone that you talk to would say. Fantastic outcome. Right. What got the coverage? Bloody school lunches were the lead story night after night, whether they were warm enough and whether they were nutritious. And yet this is an outstanding outcome. Full marks to Erica for what she's achieved, and it got not a mention, not a mutter, not a whisper.
Yeah, bloody good point.
It's amazing because, and all they talk about, the PPTA and the teachers' unions, talk about the treaty all the time. They're more
and another letter from a school saying we'll uphold the treaty. What a load of podge. Yeah. And she's lifting the actual achievement of Maori students, but she's being called a racist. Racist, yeah. It's just... It is outrageous. I'd also note on this issue, Ian Wishart going to court with RNZ to try and get them to reveal who helped them lie about climate change. It's a really interesting case, which we'll talk about further. That's at the High Court in Auckland. We're going to take a break from Free Speech Fridays. Going to do a commercial break. Back. We have Free Speech Fridays, Yvonne Van Dongen and Maurice Williamson, brought to you by the Free Speech Union, FSU.NZ, the champions of free speech in New Zealand. Guys, announced yesterday an inquiry, some would say a limited inquiry into the Tom Phillips case. God, this makes me uncomfortable, Yvonne. The whole thing is such a tragedy.
Isn't it, though? I know. I mean, last night, Judith Collins was saying he's a very evil man, and Mark Mitchell has said he's a monster. And so, I mean, I want to know, what did people know about this Tom Phillips and when? And if it was really that bad, why didn't they go in earlier? I think it's a good idea to have the inquiry, but I don't know that we'll ever know the results because they're going to protect the children, which is
actually a good thing. Do we need to know?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. No, I think you're right. We don't need to know.
Well, we'll have the documentary. We'll have the documentary, won't we, Maurice, that Julie Christie's making with the cooperation of the police. But don't you want to know, Maurice, why it took 4 years?
Yeah.
I sort of do, yes, because it all comes back to the welfare of the children is just paramount. And everything that was done should be about what's going to, be the outcome for them. For kids to have been living in a bush in those circumstances for whatever number of years it turned out, their whole development in life will have been affected, their educational standards, their psychological view of the world will have been altered. I think trying to go in and find them and rescue them out of that earlier would have been a good idea. If that's what the inquiry is going to try and find out, could we have done it better and quicker?
Yeah.
I'm okay with trying to find that out. But make sure we be very careful not to have anything that does any further damage to the kids.
Yeah, well said, guys. Well, I hate to say this. I'm looking back and saying, what sort of police leadership did we have at the time all this was going down?
Oh, excellent police leadership, wasn't it? Totally excellent.
Busy covering up.
Busy
covering things up. And acting by consensus. And I'd love to see Julie Christie be given access by the police to all the officers who covered up for Jevon McSkimmon. Now, there's a documentary I'd watch.
I'd watch that one. I'd watch that one.
Yeah.
Another question, though, has been raised, guys, by a number of callers this morning, and they've been very reasonable people, that we appear to have a family court system that many fathers feel alienates them and gives them very few options. And that maybe we do need to look at a system that can, in the most extreme of circumstances, and I'm not saying Tom Phillips didn't make his own choices, but as someone who's never been to family court but was involved in a divorce and could have been, the sheer terror and the perceived unfairness of that process for men is a very real thing, Yvonne.
Yeah, the fear is a very real thing. I suppose after the Tom Phillips case, I want to know if their fears are justified or not. I want to know if the courts are protecting children. Clearly, there is a growing body of satisfaction and unhappiness with the court. That's why so many men supported Tom Phillips. But, yeah, I'm sorry, I just feel a bit unsure about this.
Well,
really.
I think that is an issue we do need to deal with, or there will be other Tom Phillips, Maurice.
Oh.
Yeah, look, I was a constituent MP for 30 years, so I had to deal with quite a few cases. And it's only anecdotal. I don't have any scientific numbers for it, but it did seem like the courts were terribly in favour of the mother. Now, I'm okay with that because she's going to be predominantly the caregiver for the kids.
Well, who says she's going to predominantly be the caregiver, Maurice? Who wrote that
rule? Because the vast bulk of the case... Well, no, I don't think it's a rule. I'm just saying that predominantly in the cases I knew, it was nearly always the male who was the breadwinner and the earner, and the woman who might have been working but was never going to be able to carry on working if the marriage split up and so on. So I'm okay with it not being exactly 50-50, but it did look to be terribly biased one way, and I know so many men who were put to hell in a handbasket about it when they just wanted access to their kids, to be a good parent, to add money. And in the end, I just think that a really good review of where the balance lies wouldn't be harmful at all.
Yeah. And I do think that's part of this, Yvonne.
Yes, but Tom Phillips is not the poster child for the wronged male, though, is he? That's the problem.
No.
Really?
No. I'm not supportive. I'm no supporter of what he did and who he was, and I just wish the hell there wasn't a bloody injunction on what can be said. Because there seems to be...
part of me, Maurice, part of me doesn't mind that. I have some understanding of why there is.
Oh, you do?
Do you want those
kids
kids to be branded?
Yeah.
No.
With stuff they weren't responsible for the rest of their lives?
No, as I said, anything we do must be to do with protecting the kids. They've been through hell in a handbasket, and I don't want any more. So if I don't know what they're hiding, that's the only problem. But you have a bit of an idea, Sean, then I'll go with you. We leave it. Just leave it.
Yeah.
There are details that, if they were to be widely spread, would make it even more difficult for those kids to ever
walk away from that straight away.
To walk away. Okay, good on you. Good on you. And as I say, I am only operating on the innuendo and the the gossip I get, but I'm okay with that in these circumstances. I don't need to know. I don't need.
I've heard. I heard the innuendo as well, and it was stomach churning, to be honest.
But you can see why if that information got out widely to the public, it would damage those kids and their chances of recovery further.
Well, I said right at the beginning of this talk, I said the paramount decision has got to be no more damage or no more harm to the kids.
Yeah.
And so if there's anything that can protect them from any more, they've been through just dreadful stuff, we've got to get them to be as normal back into society as they can. No more. Nothing. If it's going to do any more damage, take it off the books. Gone.
Yeah.
Guys, as I said earlier on, I think the media are girding their loins to have a good crack at getting rid of the coalition next year and to ensuring things flip in New Zealand politics, because that's what the mainstream media do. And part of that, it would seem to me, the first tranche of that is destabilising National and Luxon by saying he's going to lose the leadership. I don't know. Whenever I see a bunch of columnists writing the same column about the same time, I figure they've got nothing, and there's nothing there. There's nothing, no quote from anyone, nothing physical that's happened, nothing evidential that's happened. Maurice, you're a former National Party person. Don't you guys, if you're going to stab someone in the back, you all go away and have a barbecue over Christmas, and you come back and you give them the option of falling on their sword or walking into the Senate and being stabbed?
To an extent, but you also do one other thing. You also have a viable horse in the race that can take over. And right now, I think National's in a position where I don't think anybody in the rest of the team, some of them are very good ministers and some of them are very capable. I don't think there's anybody that could take the reins and go with a big wow factor.
I think you've already mentioned her this morning, Maurice.
Yeah, I think she's a stunning Minister of Education and a fantastic MP and everything else. First of all, I use the old analogy. No one wanted the job as captain of the Titanic when the ship was actually hitting the iceberg. So I'm prepared to go to the TAB and put a big poultice bet that Luxon will lead the National Party into the election.
Yvonne?
Yeah, I agree. I want to say to National, with all these people carping, because things come in my inbox all the time saying his grip is slipping and all the rest. I want to say to National, don't do it. Don't give the media what they want. They already think they run the country, them and the Wellington blob. Don't do it. I'm going to say something that you never really hear on the platform or anywhere. I don't think Chris Luxon is doing such a bad job.
Neither do I, Yvonne.
Don't you?
No, I don't. I think he lacks character. He's like David Brett off The Office. He won't come on for an interview. He looks like a face on a thumb. But he hasn't done a bad job of holding together the first three-way coalition government in New Zealand's history, dealing with Winston Peters and David Seymour. And, by midway through next year, our economy is actually going to be looking a hell of a lot better. There's nothing not to like about that. Except I wouldn't want him babysitting my kids.
Oh, really?
Or I wouldn't want him at a barbecue. I don't get him. I don't get him because he doesn't engage with me. But apart from that, Yvonne, you're right. He's not the worst Prime Minister we ever had. Or that even nationally ever had.
I know, and popularity is overrated. John Key was popular. Jacinda Ardern was popular. Were they great prime ministers? No, they weren't. Maybe Mr. Boring is just fine. He is holding it together. He lets his ministers shine. He doesn't seem to worry about, if the camera's not on him. And they've actually, when I listed all the things they've done, I thought, they've actually done a lot. And maybe it hasn't gone far enough for a lot of people. But when you list all the things that they've done, it's heaps.
Yeah.
And it's only 2 years in. And some of it's incremental. Maybe he wants a boost for next term, so he'll do more severe things. But I think he's doing a good job. I do. And I reckon he'll come and talk to you next year. That's my prediction.
Oh, well, okay. I don't think he's actually personally got a problem with me. I think he's got some woke snowflake staff, to be honest. Maurice.
Probably.
Maurice, do you think he's actually not that bad?
No, God. I think he's actually not that bad at all. But he's got one problem that I think he's got to do something about. He doesn't seem to be able to deal with questions and give an answer that resonates with the public. He'll give a word salad type answer, and at the end you don't know whether it was a yes or a no, or was he in favour or not. Now, that's a bit of training. If he got just a bit of training and would answer with you begin your answer with, yes, we will. Yeah. And then you say, we'll do that because we think the benefits will be.
Well, you don't begin with what I'm going to say to you at the end of the day.
Correct. That's what you don't begin with. Yeah. And so he doesn't resonate with the public. The only thing that I think will keep National in power is that the god-awful, ghastly Malays on the other side is sort of, I don't even know how they're figuring the polling, given the appalling job they did to the economy between 20 and 23, to give the fact the public threw them out. My view at that time of the election was they will never grace the polls of this country for at least 2 more terms. Well, they're back within sort of 18 months at almost identical, and in fact leading in some of the polls. And again, I think that's something National's got to be a bit responsible for. They haven't done enough for the short-term gain. A lot of the big, the long-term infrastructure stuff, like fast track, will have enormous benefits for the economy long-term. Yeah. The problem is, and I'll repeat it as many times as you want to hear me, when people go to vote, they want on one thing alone. Do I feel better now than I did 3 years ago? Yeah. And right now they don't. Yeah. They don't feel better than they did 2 years ago.
But, Yvonne, a lot of people are texting saying they love your support for Luxon. I didn't think, when I started this session, guys, I didn't think we'd be having a love-in on Face on a Thumb, but that's where it's ended up, and that's what free speech is all about. Hey, we've got to go. It's 9 o'clock. Great session, though. Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you, Maurice.
Bye.
We'll do it again soon. That was Free Speech Fridays, brought to you by the Free Speech Union. The champions of free speech in New Zealand. Visit them at fsu.nz. It is 9 o'clock or just after news time.